This episode is sponsored by Medicine Based Beauty, where beauty is backed by science. Hello and welcome back to the Cultivate CNY podcast. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome Megan Thomas to the show today. She's built a career that's grounded in advocacy, leadership, and service. As an attorney, educator, and community leader, she is passionate about using her expertise to uplift others, whether it's in the courtroom, the classroom, or on the t-ball field. She is a graduate of Syracuse Law School and the Maxwell School of Citizenship, and Megan has honed her skills in oral advocacy, mentorship, and legal scholarship. Her career has spanned litigation, public service, and executive leadership, including making history as the first female General Counsel for the Onondaga County Water Authority. Beyond her legal work, Megan is deeply committed to her community, serving on multiple boards, including the Rosemond Gifford Zoo, the Central New York Women's Bar Association, and the Hiscock Legal Aid Society. She is also a proud member of Women's United and the New York State Bar Association and was honored as a 40 under 40 recipient by the CNY Business Journal. Before entering law, Megan dedicated 6 years to teaching in inner city schools as a Teach for America Corps member, blending her passion for education with her drive for social impact. In this episode, we explore Megan's journey from educator to attorney to community leader and dive into her insights on leadership, advocacy, and the power of giving back. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Well, Megan Thomas, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited you're here. You are my first lawyer
That's exciting.
on the show. So I'm going to be asking you all of my personal legal questions.
Okay, I'm ready. Side note, I don't do criminal, family. No, just kidding.
Yes. What do you specialize in? Let's just get right into it.
Okay, so I focus on employment law for plaintiffs. So what that really means is I do work in the employment setting just for people who are employees. So for example, I really focus on people who are facing discrimination in the workplace, harassment in the workplace, or retaliation.
Who do you see facing these issues the most?
So it's mostly women. I would say 85% of my clients are women, and then a lot of minorities as well. I also have a lot of clients who perhaps are over 45 because I have a lot of age discrimination cases. There are a lot of different ways that you can be discriminated against. Some are legal, some are not, right? So I always tell my clients there's no rule against your employer being a jerk, but there is a rule against your employer discriminating against you on the basis of a protected class, such as age, gender, sexuality, et cetera. And so those are the things that I really focus on.
And when you were a little girl, did you always know you were going to be a lawyer?
That's such a good question. I would say that I did, but I kind of wavered. Like no one else in my family had gone to law school. I'm the first one in my family to go to a 4-year college. So it just wasn't really something I saw around me, but I definitely read To Kill a Mockingbird and like that was it. You know, I was 10. I was obsessed, but I actually ended up doing Teach for America for 6 years. I kind of did a couple of different things, but did come back to it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you didn't come from a family with lawyers or people just that pursue the higher education route. What kind of family dynamic did you come from? Are you from Central New York?
I'm not. I'm from downstate. I grew up in the Hudson Valley. I'm the oldest of 5, and my dad was an X-ray technician, and my mom stayed at home with us. I was actually homeschooled, fun fact, until I was 13, which was like a very interesting journey. But yeah, I had a really fun childhood. I was outside playing all the time. I read lots of books. But yeah, I didn't really see a lot of attorneys around me, minus some jingles on TV.
Gotta love those jingles,
Yeah,
right?
they're the best. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense though. You were the oldest of 5,
Mhm.
so you are probably pretty passionate about protecting people.
That's right. Yes.
So you've always probably had this natural inclination to doing the right thing and standing up for people or standing up for what's right.
That's right. Yes. And, mediation or advocating for people, I was doing all of that from a young age. And I talked to a lot of lawyers who are also the first in their family. I think that there's a correlation there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So what did the transition look like between, doing Teaching for America to deciding I'm gonna be a lawyer and going to law school?
Yeah, great question. So there were a couple false starts. I signed up to do Teach for America. It's a 2-year commitment. They said, listen, if you do a third year, we'll pay for your master's. I was like, fine. Side note, when I got into Teach for America, which I was so excited about, I scrolled down. I'm like, yes, I got in. And it was Las Vegas where I was placed. So that was a really interesting journey. But I ended up really enjoying it. Did a lot of hiking and things out there. So anyway,
Out
I'm
at Red
there.
Rock.
At Red Rocks, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I
So
love
cool.
that was actually my first real hike, was
Really?
Red Rock National Conservatory, and it was, like, 2 years ago.
Really? It's so much fun.
But
It's
I
great.
just went to Sedona with my girlfriends,
Okay.
which is very similar
Yeah.
to that.
We loved, Mount Zion in Utah. That was kind of like our happy place. We would just go
That's
away there all the
on
time.
my list.
It's
I've
amazing.
heard amazing
And
things.
there's good food too, which
The
is also
the
important.
West Coast in general, I think, is best for hiking.
Yeah, it is. It's true. So I did that, and while I was out there, I was studying for the LSAT, but I don't know, I think I had, like, some imposter syndrome. I was a little scared about making this transition. It was during a time when a lot of lawyers were having trouble finding jobs, so I kept reading these articles that were like, "If you go to law school, you're gonna be in this much debt, you're not going to get a job, it's a bad idea," all these things, and, that kind of freaked me out, so I took the LSAT, I applied to law school, I got in, but I also, applied to teach in New York City, and I got that too, and I just figured, you know what, law school will always be there, I wanna keep teaching, and also I was kind of scared, like, if I'm being totally honest looking back, so I taught for another 3 years, and then actually my husband wanted to go back to school as well. We both wanted to pursue higher education, and he actually really encouraged me. He was like, "Listen, this is what you wanna do, like, don't give up on your dream." So he went to get his PhD at Syracuse, and I went to get my law degree there, and that's what happened.
And so you came up here to do that, and
That's
you've
right.
been here ever since?
Yes, that was not the plan, but we fell in love with this area. We thought that we would end up kind of back in a big city, but I actually had my son in law school, which is a little unconventional. But once I had kids, I was like, I don't know, I can't imagine commuting so much. I can't imagine moving back to a tiny apartment, things like that.
Mhm.
And I love the people here too. They're just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I think upstate New York is definitely a great place to raise a family.
Yeah,
So, when they're grown and old, maybe you can go and be a city dweller again, but
maybe. But now my roots are here too. Like I said, like I just have so many amazing friends, so many great connections. I just can't imagine being anywhere else, except for traveling, of course. We'll go all over for that.
so when you were done with law school, what was your first job?
So I was a general litigator, which I loved. I really enjoy getting into getting my hands on litigation any way possible. So non-lawyers, I think they think we're in the courtroom a lot. We're actually not. It doesn't happen very often, but I would do things like discovery in the background or going to depositions to help prepare witnesses for trial. In the beginning, I was just watching. I didn't get to do very many of them. And then, I just really had a passion for it. And I eventually did get to do some of these things myself. I got to do some depositions. I started taking on some smaller cases where I did get to go to family court or to small claims court, things like that, and just got as much experience as possible.
Are you a naturally curious person?
I am, yes, yes, which is good and bad, I think. Sometimes I get bored really quickly, so I need to that's why I loved litigation. Like, every case that came through the door was different, and I had to figure it out. I had to learn the law on that specific issue, and I just really loved that. I think it fit my personality well.
Yeah, and then what did you do after that?
So then I tried specializing in education law, thinking, oh, like that's a perfect fit for me. I did education, as a teacher, and now I'm going to do education law. It wasn't a good fit for me. I didn't really enjoy it. Um,
What is
so
education law?
so education law can encompass a lot of different things, but generally, figuring out what's legal in terms of the resources that students are getting, or teachers might be having employment issues. There's just so much there. So essentially, there's just many things that it could relate to. I really was focused on students, but I was working for school districts, and so anyway, it wasn't a good fit for me. I did that for about a year. Then I got pregnant with my daughter, and I was like, "You know what? This is not this is not working. I need to make a life change." So I went to a firm where I had a really great experience. I got a ton of experience during the pandemic, actually, because a lot of people were working from home and things like that. So again, I just kind of always am like there ready for as much experience as possible.
And now you just started your own firm.
That's right.
Literally just how many months
5
ago?
months ago.
5 months. I
Yeah.
can't believe it's already been 5
I
months.
know. Like, it feels like it's been so much time, actually. Like, I can't imagine a different life at this point. It's just been so much better in so many ways.
Well, there's a few pretty amazing firms in Syracuse. So, what made you want to start your own firm?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there are so many amazing firms and so many great lawyers in this community that I've learned so much from, and so many people that have mentored me to get me to this position. So I really feel thankful for that. But I think for me, I'm an entrepreneur at heart and I would get frustrated at things. I'm like, well, I think this should be done this way. Or we talked earlier about marketing, like I wanted to do marketing differently, things like that. And this just kind of gave me that space to kind of be more of an entrepreneur. But then, really, most importantly, I wanted to represent individuals who are facing discrimination, harassment, and retaliation in the workplace. You really can't do that at a big firm because you would be conflicted out of the cases. So, for example, if there's a big employer in town, chances are that a big firm would have worked for that employer. And so I couldn't take on an individual who is suffering from any kind of issue in the workplace.
Okay. Because it would conflict
It
with.
would conflict. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That
that's
makes a
like
lot
a
of
really good
sense.
benefit for being at my own.
Hey guys, quick question. Has it been a struggle for you to get the type of attention and support you need in Central New York? Could you use some more growth minded customers that want to support local businesses? At CNY Women's Network, we specialize in helping businesses foster community through dynamic events and media opportunities. As the founder of the CNY Women's Network, I'm particularly passionate about creating opportunities that amplify the voices and missions of business owners in Central New York. Whether you want to host an event with us, advertise across our media channels, or get featured on the Cultivate CNY podcast, there are plenty of ways to partner with the CNY Women's Network. We have so many exciting events and editorial campaigns lined up for 2025 and are actively seeking sponsors that align with our mission and core values. So, if this is resonating and you are ready to take your brand to the next level, email us at media@cnywomensnetwork.com to learn more. All right, let's get back to the show. It makes sense why you would niche down into this specific area of
Yeah.
law. Do you see yourself I'm sure you're already helping plenty of people in the Central New York region, but do you see your firm being a national firm that helps people all over, or
That's a good question.
or do
I
you need to
do.
stay in New York State?
I would like to stay in New York State because the laws are favorable here to employees who are facing workplace issues. And so I really like that about New York. And it allows me to really understand the laws, kind of focus in on those specific issues and just help people. And frankly, there's so much work. Like I don't think I need to go beyond New York, at least at this point. So that's my goal. But I have been taking cases all over the state. Certainly I have a lot. Most of my cases are local, but I have cases downstate. I have cases in Buffalo, Rochester, all over.
Which, is it's kind of unfortunate that there is plenty of work for you,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But it's so great that you started this 5 months ago and now you're going to help, support, and, be an advocate for so many people in Central New York. So what are you seeing, people struggle with the most? Is there a common thread you're seeing or a trend
Yeah,
in
that's a good
anything?
question. A little bit of everything, certainly a lot of sexual harassment, which is really sad. As you said, it's like really great to be able to help people. And I'm glad that it's me who's helping them because I understand some of these issues. I face some of them myself, but it's also really heartbreaking to see the level at which they're happening, how frequently they're happening. So that's kind of like where my heart really is in the sexual harassment cases. Because again, I just really feel for people and I want to help them deal with these difficult, challenging situations. But then also, I've seen a lot of age discrimination. That's definitely something I've had multiple cases in. A lot of retaliation. So that means when someone speaks up and says, hey, either I'm being harassed or discriminated against, or this other person is being harassed or discriminated against, the employer is not allowed to take what's called an adverse employment action against that person for speaking up. And unfortunately, they do quite a
That
bit.
happens
It
often.
happens.
What does that look like, that retaliation? I feel like I'm sure there's ways employers retaliate that employees are not even
Aware of.
aware of, right?
Exactly.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
gaslighting that goes
A
on
lot of
probably.
gaslighting at work. It's crazy. You're totally right about that. So one example is, you came in a little late and your employer says, all right, we're writing you up for that. But then you look around and you realize everyone else is late. And also, by the way, you've been late every day, like since you started working there. It's not really a punctual kind of place. That would be an example of adverse employment action. It's different from what they've done in the past. And it's different from how they're treating others. So it's kind of a small thing, but I have seen cases where someone speaks up in the workplace, whether again about themselves or someone else, and then they're kind of targeted, and the employers think that they're being sneaky. But once they get a good lawyer on their side to help them see the pattern. And I have my clients take really careful notes. Like once they call me, sometimes I'm like, well, you don't really have a case yet, but like take a lot of good notes, and we'll touch base in 2 weeks or whatever it is. And that really helps.
What are some things, say there's lots of young women that listen to this, but we have a lot of people think our audience is full of just business owners, but
Yeah,
it's full of a lot of different kinds of people
that's
living
right.
in Central New York. So there's a lot of women in our membership, in our audience, that are corporate girlies,
Yeah.
or people working in corporate environments. And I feel lucky to have almost like worked my way around the corporate ladder, I guess you could say. I never really worked in a super corporate setting. So I'm not super aware of all the things that go on, but I do hear from some of the people at our events
Yeah.
about the different dynamics and stuff. And so if there's like a young woman starting out in her career, super ambitious, you know, excited to help out,
Mhm.
super capable,
Yeah.
I feel like those are usually the women that actually get taken advantage
You're
of
right.
the most.
You're right.
So what would you suggest to just, make sure you're aware of this, or make sure you're doing these things to protect yourself?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and it's so good to point that out. Like, I know when I was in that position, I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I felt a lot of shame. Like, why is it me? Why am I being targeted? What am I doing wrong? And like now that I'm on the other side, kind of like helping other people, I'm like hearing the same stories from these women. Like, this is now the third time. Like, this has happened to me, and I'm like, listen, it's not you. It's not anything you're doing wrong anyway. Like, you're a hard worker. You're a type A personality. You're a go getter, and you're a people pleaser. Like that's it, but that doesn't mean you need to change. They need to change. By the way, the law's on your side. So, what I would tell these women is number one, never put yourself in a compromising situation just to put yourself ahead at work. So, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, there's some, and I'll call them predators out there who put young women in compromising situations, whether it's with respect to under the guise of helping a client, but, I need you to come to my office late at night, just
Mhm.
weird things. If it feels weird, it probably is. Don't trust it. And then try to have some advocates at work for yourself or some confidants and be able to share with them anything you're going through. So, hey, this is a little weird. Like this partner asked me to do this and I felt uncomfortable with it. Is that weird? Have you ever been asked to do something like that? What would you do? That's so helpful because part of what these individuals, the way that they get away with things for so long is because no one talks and people are just trying to get ahead and work hard, and do the right thing and not complain about others. But actually, that just allows them to continue on.
Yeah, and it's no secret that a lot of high performing women usually have imposter syndrome,
Right.
right? And I think
Exactly.
maybe the reason why nobody speaks up or addresses anything is because there's this subconscious fear that if they do, they'll lose their place, or
Right.
they'll lose opportunities,
That's
which
right.
is the last thing a ambitious woman looking to build her career wants,
That's right.
right? So how do you guide your clients to address these issues and stick up for themselves
Yeah.
while also protecting their job and their career?
Great question. So, I tell them, listen, at the end of the day, again, like if this is the case, which it often is, the law is on your side. And it's really important that you understand that because again, you didn't do anything wrong. Number one. And then number two, if this is a place that's going to try to cover that up. So yes, there's a perpetrator, but sometimes we can address that with the company and deal with that issue, right? But other times, sadly, more frequently, the company is trying to cover that up. And so that's when I say to that person, listen, you don't want to be there anyway. Let's find a place where you're going to be safe. And let's, try to figure out how we can remedy this situation. And then throughout the process, there's a lot of people who are in the in between, like, I think this is weird, but I'm not sure, or this has happened a couple of times. I'm not sure I want to speak up about it yet. I tell them to document, document, document. And what does that look like? Taking screenshots of, inappropriate things, having a journal where you write things down because it's happened where some of my clients have a situation where they want to speak up about sexual harassment, but then they're fired very abruptly, sometimes because HR is onto them, and then they lose all that evidence. And of course, we can get it in litigation, but it's a whole time consuming, expensive process. So it's best if they have that information right away when they come to
Yeah,
me.
document it as soon as it happens, and
Exactly.
don't wait for the rug to get pulled out from under you.
Right, right. Yeah, and I hear that a lot too. I hear a lot of women who are like, "Oh, I probably should have called you like months ago, but I was just waiting until this promotion, or I was just waiting until this big event that I've been working hard on," whatever it is. And if your gut is telling you something's wrong and it's wrong now, like call someone, at least know your rights. Like it's
Yeah.
whether it's me or someone else, right? Like my thing is like I want to put myself out of business. I don't want this to be a problem anymore. I want to hold these people accountable. And I want these women to feel like they have a safe place to land.
So did you start this business because you faced some of these issues yourself?
Yes, I did. Yeah, and I noticed, that there weren't a lot of people around to help with this issue. There are some really great lawyers in town who also do this work, and I'm so thankful for them, but there's not a lot. And, like I said already, I'm so busy. It's wild. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's something I dealt with a couple times in my career, and I felt like I talked about with those other women, I felt like there was something wrong with me, but I think at this stage of my life, I'm like, nope, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not changing the way that I act. I'm not changing the way that I dress. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not doing that
You're
anymore.
not gonna let a predator
Yeah.
or, an antagonist or whatever you wanna call them, take away or what makes you you, right?
Right,
Or
right.
you're not gonna dim your light to make other people feel more comfortable or to make other people behave
That's right.
correctly. And I think I totally resonate with that. I feel
Yeah.
like there has been many times where I'm like, maybe I should you know, dumb myself down or shrink myself
Yeah.
so that I don't have to deal with these encounters with people because people clearly are treating me this way because of who I am and how I look
Right, right. Yeah.
and not necessarily what I have to offer.
That's right.
If you feel comfortable enough, could you share some examples of some of the issues you face so that anyone listening that might realize, "Oh crap, I've been through that too. I
Yeah.
didn't know that that was wrong."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, like, one thing that I think I didn't realize in the beginning was this individual who would constantly put me down, right? Like, I had to start asking myself, is he doing this to the male associates or colleagues that I had? I noticed that I was being treated very differently, right? Like, this was a difficult person. He was treating us, men and women, difficultly, but it was totally different the way that I was being treated. I was being like constantly shamed, constantly put down, gaslit all the time, things like that. And that's kind of how it started. And then it was like, the creepy hugs and then, inappropriate comments. And I was like, wait, I just feel like this went so far down the rabbit hole. And like, I should have seen this coming, but I totally missed all the signs.
Which is such a weird thing to wrap your head around. It's
Yeah.
like, why would someone who was clearly attracted to you and interested in you start off by treating you bad,
Yeah.
poorly?
It's a
It's a
common trend.
weird psychological thing that goes on there.
Yes. And that's why, a lot of times people ask me, like, is it about power? And I do think for some people it is about power.
Maybe it is, yeah.
And I think it's complicated. I think it's probably a bit, it's not just power. I think there's more going on there, but I do sometimes think it's a power thing where, people want to come in, put you down right away, break you down, and
Mhm.
then, give you this attention. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this is not the kind of attention I actually want. I want you to appreciate that amazing brief I just wrote for you, you
Yeah.
know?
I want you to
Um,
respect me, and
yeah.
you're finding every way to not respect me.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But I love what you said about, not dimming your light. I think that's so important. And if there's a message I could send to younger women who are early in their career, it would really just be that, like, don't dim your light for someone else. Be yourself, be authentic. And if the place that you're working is not supporting that, it's probably not the place to be. And that's okay. I think that the times are changing and you don't have to be at the same place your whole life. It's great if you are, right? That's amazing. But that's just not the way the world works right now.
Yeah, and I think that just it's human nature, I think, for people to observe someone that is clearly in their power and in their element. And you can tell by the way that they show up in the world every
Yeah.
single day. Like you love to get dressed.
Yep. It's true.
I love to get dressed.
Yeah.
And like playing dress up was my favorite thing as a kid. So, I mean, I bring that into my life now.
Yeah.
And I have been in situations where I felt like I should just like wear what everyone else is wearing so I don't attract any attention
Yeah.
because the attention I was getting was not the attention I wanted, like you
Right.
said. And it's also people kind of prey on that. They see
Mhm.
someone that is in their power and they want to take that
Yeah.
for themselves. and it's predatory, and
It
it's
is.
unfortunate.
But every time you stand up and you say no, whether you're just saying, "No, don't talk to me that way," or whether you're in the workplace and you're saying, "No, I'm not going to be treated this way. I'm going to file a sexual harassment complaint," you're standing up for other women too. And I
Mhm.
think that's really powerful. And I tell my clients that all the time. They're like, this feels like such a heavy burden. And I'm like, well, you don't have to choose it, right? But if you do, know that you're not just helping yourself, you're helping so many women who come after you because really, once someone stands up to these people, they do think twice. And each time it happens, others around them see the pattern as well. And so we have to bring light to these behaviors. And listen, again, there's a lot of amazing men out there. I've had so many great male mentors. Like, this is the exception, not the rule, but it is too many. And I think that's a message I really try to say a lot. Like, I get a lot of, people on my LinkedIn saying like, "Are all men awful? What are you trying to say?" I'm like, "No, most of them are amazing, but there's too many out there who are still engaging these behaviors and getting away with it, and it's negatively impacting women every day."
One is too many, you
Agreed.
know?
Agreed.
The people that show up and do the right thing every day, it's also holding, not being a bystander.
Right. Oh
It's
my gosh.
from
Yeah.
man to man. If you
Yeah.
are a man that is an ally and understands how to respect women and
Yeah.
wants to, and you see maybe someone you're close with or one of your colleagues doing the wrong thing, it's standing up isn't just about you and protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's about all the women that come after you. And
Definitely.
I think that alone, if you just focus on that, if you are a victim, if you are in a really sticky situation right now and you're debating whether or not you should speak up and, oh, maybe I'll lose my job. Groceries are expensive. I cannot
Yeah.
afford to lose my job right now. I mean, there's
Totally.
so many factors at play that prevent women from speaking up.
Yep.
At the end of the day, if you do speak up and put a stop to it, you will be helping so many other people
That's
other
right.
than yourself. And I'm sure if you lose that job where you were in that situation in the first place, I am a firm believer that the universe will open up another door for you that will be 10 times better.
That's right. I think that's exactly right.
And I'm sure that's what you tell your clients
I tell
too,
them that all the
right?
time. Yeah. And it's really beautiful. I see a lot of people coming out of these situations starting their own businesses. Like, how cool is that? I love that. It's like, I'm done doing this. I'm done putting myself back in another vulnerable situation. Again, hopefully for many people it would work out, but they are just so nervous. And then they start their own thing and they're killing it. I love that.
And it's good to see them killing it. But it also makes me sad that, like, these businesses were started out of a necessity
Yeah,
that and some women probably felt like this was their only option
you're right.
to having the career of their dreams and also being protected and feeling
Totally.
safe enough to be and to
Yeah.
exist. So they had to go and just do their own thing.
Yeah, and I think that's really powerful because a lot of men actually, I hear them say like, "Well, this wasn't a big deal. Like I just commented on your outfit or I commented on, and let's be clear, like commenting on your outfit can be fine, but there's creepy ways to do it. But there's, certain things that they're doing in the workplace that they think aren't a big deal. Oh, I just made a sexual joke. Like, what's the big deal? For a lot of women, this is like a systematic problem for them and they see it coming up again and again. Like, oh my gosh, like now my job is perhaps in jeopardy again because I can't keep dealing with this behavior. And I think that's something that a lot of men don't understand because they haven't been in that position.
Mhm. Yeah, and they haven't had to change jobs a million times
Mhm.
because of the same problem keeps coming up.
Right.
So it's not a matter of their unique comment that they made in this very particular situation. It's like a systemic it's a pattern.
That's right. And it's like when you're commenting on a woman and reducing her to an object essentially in those situations, you're devaluing her intelligence. You're
Mhm.
devaluing her contributions to the team. You're not respecting her, and that automatically puts her on a lower playing field than her male colleagues. And they don't see all of that, right? And unfortunately, we do because it's happened so many times. But I think that's really important to point out because again, I hear a lot of men saying like, "Well, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I don't know why we're being so uptight about these like few little comments or I just like gave her one creepy hug, well, it's a part of a bigger problem for us and it's something that we need to change so that women can be on an equal playing field. I just like so firmly believe that. So going to your point of like, yeah, it is kind of sad. Like I'm looking at it from a positive, like I do love seeing women opening their own businesses, but you're right. Like they should also feel like they can be part of a bigger company if they want to be.
What does someone do when they decide, okay, this isn't right and I think I need help.
Look into who does this kind of work specifically, but also make sure you're taking those careful steps to document everything. That's so, so important. And also don't be afraid to share it with someone close to you, because sometimes it's good to say, like, am I being crazy? Is this what I should be doing? Is this normal? Like, I think that's also important. So there's a lot of steps there. Like, some people aren't ready to call an attorney right away. They need to do these other things first. I pride myself on being really approachable. So I try to make it so that, if someone calls me and they're not ready yet, I'm like, that's fine. Like, I'm here for you when you are. Here are the things you should do in between. But I get that that's a scary step. It's a lot. And it could mean stepping away from a job that you love. It could mean filing a claim against your employer. I mean, all these things are so scary. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, as you said, if not you, then who? And we need to stand up for what's right again if you make that choice.
Yeah, I think, what you mentioned about just having someone to talk to,
Hmm.
building an alliance with
Yeah.
someone. I've worked in I honestly, one of the only corporate environments that I worked in was like super male dominated, and there was only like one other woman in the
Yeah.
office that I was in, and I didn't really have like a close relationship with her. And like hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should have, you
Yeah.
just got to build alliances, I
Yeah.
think, in general, when you go to a new company. It's like
Yeah.
figure out who do you need to know,
Definitely.
get people on your side.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we can gaslight ourselves
Oh my
out
gosh. Yeah.
of a lot of these things, and it's just nice to run it by someone and be validated.
And chances are you're probably right, because if your gut is telling you this is wrong, it probably is. But I talk to my clients a lot about that, about gaslighting yourself. I'm like, we have to recognize it and then stop, because you're not doing yourself any favor by just mitigating how you feel and then going into that space every day, mitigating how you feel, and then having it happen again and again is just so bad for your mental health.
Yeah. It's just constant mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's shift to business
Okay,
because
let's
like
do it.
I'm really excited for you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
you started this business 5 months ago and you are like booked and busy. I
Yeah.
mean, you've had no problem finding clients. You've done so many other things before you started a business. So I'm just curious, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned so far?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I always had these like side hustles, which I think actually helped me more than my regular jobs. I had like a food blog. I ran a bed and breakfast out of my house when I was in law school, because that's like how I paid to go to law school, basically. And I feel like those things actually helped a lot. But in terms of the lessons I've learned, is that the question you asked?
Oh, I mean, I love hearing that. I didn't know that at all. What did you learn from the bed and
Okay,
breakfast?
so many things, but certainly customer service, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, the house was very cute, but like it was an old
Was
house
it
in
in
Strathmore.
Syracuse? Oh,
Yeah, it was
Strathmore.
in
Okay.
Strathmore. And like the shower, you couldn't actually change the temperature. It was set at a certain spot and I could only change it in the basement. But I think like the fact that my husband and I were just like so kind to these guests and like accommodating and made every other thing, as comfortable
Mhm.
as possible, they always would give us the best reviews. Like we were super hosts, it was so crazy. And meanwhile, we had like a shower that, couldn't adjust, or like, sometimes our street could be a little loud at night, certain things like that I would get stressed about. But again, it showed me that like it doesn't have to be a perfect experience if your customer service is excellent. And that was really neat. And then also it also taught me the benefits of just hard work, which I did. I definitely had known at that point, but I remember like the guests would come in Friday. I was in law school, like doing a zillion things. Thursday night, I would like be cleaning until like midnight, my husband and I both would, to get the house ready. And it was just like, you know what? This is worth it right now. We have to do this. Like, this
Mhm.
is how we're going to make this work. And I don't know. Then I really appreciated like every dollar that came out of that business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you enjoyed the hustle.
Yeah, I
I mean,
did.
anyone that goes to law schools clearly enjoys the
Yeah.
hustle.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by that at all. Have found that in business and in business relationships, I avoid conflict more, and I
Mhm.
feel like it's because I feel like a lack of preparation. You know what I mean? Or a lack of practice.
Yeah.
And I think that going to law school could help me a lot in terms of negotiating things.
Totally. It's a muscle. It's like anything else. I used to feel the exact same way. And now, I mean, you've seen me in action. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I love this, but I'm also the same way. Like, I'm not malicious. I think I'm very reasonable and analytical, like just get right to the point. And I actually think that that's way more effective than being
Mhm.
like a bulldog. I can
Yeah.
be the bulldog if I need to, like it's fine. But usually I'm focused on, okay, What can I connect with this person on? How can we get what is their goal for their client? What are they trying to do? What am I trying to do? How can we try to like both achieve our goals here? And sometimes that's doable. Sometimes it's not, right? But if you come in there like guns a blazing, you're never going to find that place.
Mhm. Yeah, you're just gonna assume that this is the route I need to take, and it's not gonna resonate.
And it only hurts the clients. Like whenever you're going in there again, just kind of hot right away.
Which is how we see lawyers depicted in film, and
Yeah.
that's I haven't been in many courts, so
Yeah.
I don't that's kind of the only impression I have of lawyers.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, you need to be able to do that if necessary, right? If you're pushed to that point, fine. But my theory is that you go in there and you try to negotiate. Negotiations require a lot of emotional intelligence, which you have, again, so I think you'd be good at this. And also they require a really analytical brain. How can we achieve what's best here? No one's gonna be totally happy perhaps with the solution, but we're gonna make the best of a bad situation. And I'm a really fierce advocate for my clients when I get into the room, but I'm not someone who's going to cost them so much money because I'm dragging the case out because I'm just fighting with the other side from day one. Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
see that happen all the time. And you're like, no, you're not helping anybody here except for yourself because, you need to, you're getting paid a lot. But my theory is like, it's better if you can resolve this issue faster. It's better for your client's mental health. And that's something we don't talk about a lot.
Mhm.
But litigation is horrible for your mental health. You're
Yeah.
reliving the same thing over and over. It's like the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Whereas, I tell them like, if we can reach a resolution, let's do it. If not, like, listen, some cases have to go to litigation. That's fine. But you better have a good therapist, and we're going to do this together.
Is that why some lawyers do that? Is it to drag the case out so they can make more money, or has that happened?
It's happened. I don't wanna assume the worst of anyone, like, I don't think that
Yeah.
necessarily they're doing that intentionally, but that is the effect. But I think some people truly think that's the best advocacy style, and it's a very male advocacy style,
Yeah.
and that's why I think, times are changing, and again, you go in there are at doing what's best for your client, but you also are doing it in a way that is most beneficial to them, which isn't always dragging it on for 3 years, because if you get a little bit more 3 years later, are you really winning? Whereas if you were able to reach a reasonable settlement sooner, it's better for their mental health if it's a close number anyway, like, let's just take it and move on. I think
Mhm.
that's
That's the
generally
approach I
ideal.
would have. I mean, just let's keep it pushing.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole reason you are there is to provide relief and support to your client. And if you're just putting them through the ringer, I mean,
it's not fun.
oh yeah. My my fiance is a business owner and has been for a long time. And he like one thing about him is that his whole shtick is like he doesn't like attorneys. He's like
Okay, okay.
he's one of those people.
Probably because he's met bad ones.
And it's because he has been in some situations where I don't blame him for not liking
Yeah,
attorneys because he's had to pay a lot of money in
yeah,
legal
yeah.
fees. And he's just like, yeah, everybody that goes to law school just wants to like make a lot of money basically and just have people just sit at a desk all day and have people cut checks. And it's because he's in a blue collar industry. He works very hard with his
Yeah,
hands.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he's like, they're pen pushers. I'm like, okay, okay. There's some people out there that are genuinely doing this to help
And
people.
I think frankly it's most of them. Like, I've worked with a lot of lawyers and most of them are amazing people and they are the hardest workers you'll meet. I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
it's similar to other fields too. Like, I shouldn't say the hardest, but they work really hard. I remember there's this one gentleman I can think of at a firm I worked at, and like he was always the first one there, the last one to leave, and he just puts 125% into each of his clients, and it's just so amazing to see. It was so inspiring for me. So I think most people are really great, but yeah, there's a few, and I've been on the other side at times of these attorneys, and you're like, this is not helpful, right? This is not going to help either side. Like, we're not going to get to a resolution here. So just like, leave your ego out the door and let's try again. And listen, that's actually like an interesting thing I've actually done a couple of times. I'll say to another attorney, hey, we need to like cool it down. This tone isn't going to work with me. Oh, I have even said like, call me back when you've calmed down. And it
Mhm.
actually works. Like, sometimes you just need to name it.
Yeah.
I think they get in these habits they don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah. I'm sure cuz it's worked for a long time, and that's a masculine energy thing to do
Hmm.
is like just dive in head first
Yeah.
and go go for the kill.
Right, right.
And it's just, it's not going to work every single
It's
time.
not. Yeah, and I think sometimes they think it'll work with me because I think sometimes I show up and they're like, "Oh, yeah, this, like, blonde girl, like, I'm gonna, like, be able to just push her over," and then they're always surprised when they
Do
can't.
they call you Legally Blonde? Like,
No, thank God.
oh, good.
They're
Thank
they don't want their tires
goodness.
slashed, that's why. No, I'm just kidding. I get so frustrated when they make comments, but anyway, it is what it is. Here we are.
I'm sure, and I'm sure that people make assumptions about you.
Yeah,
I
they
know
do.
that they certainly have about me, but I'm not a lawyer and I haven't tried to walk into you know, a trial and dominate the room. So I can only imagine the, assumptions that
Yeah.
have been made about you.
But I just, use them to my favor, and I'm like, "Okay, great." They, like, think I'm not that smart or they think,
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm like, "I got this all figured out,"
And
and
it's
then
so
yeah,
satisfying.
and then I, like, get in there, do a great job, and that feels really good.
And you do it in a way that's kind
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and patient and elegant. There's yeah, there's a swag to it.
There definitely is a swag to it. I didn't have it on day 1, I'll tell you that. I had to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Where do you see things going with your firm? I mean, what's the next step?
Yeah, so first of all, like, I'm so enjoying right now just, like, being on my own, and just having a little more flexibility. Like, I think I probably work more than I did at my last job, but it's on my own time, so it feels so much better because, like, today I have to leave early to pick my son up and bring him to ballet, right? And it's okay. I did work last night, and I'll probably do a little more tonight. It's fine. So I'm really enjoying that. But I do think I would like to expand the firm at some point, and just kind of be the change I want to see in this community. Like I want to build a place where others would want to work, and others who are in a situation similar to mine, where I had a young child at home. When I first started out, and I felt pressure to put in these long hours, but I knew I could do stuff from home too, and I just felt so stressed all the time. Like I wasn't doing a good enough job by my family. I wasn't doing a good enough job at work. It doesn't have to be that way. I think we can be more flexible with people and trust them and give them a little more leeway, and they'll actually do an even better job.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would love to grow it. Just trying to figure out like how I'm really making sure that I'm being very intentional about this first year. Making sure that I know what I want. I know what scaling is going to look like, but then also just like really enjoying this year to, again, only be really responsible for myself and my clients, which is already a ton of work, right?
Mhm.
And I love
Yeah.
that, but not having any employees yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a great place to be in, and you're so smart for just understanding that you wanna grow intentionally and in a smart way, but also just enjoying where you're at. You're so, like, well-rounded, I love it.
Thank you.
You make me wanna be a
I
lawyer.
think you would be great at it. I'm always trying to convince people to go to law school. So
Are you looking for other lawyers that are specializing in the same area of law as you, or do you wanna grow a firm that's kind of more dynamic?
It would be the same area, that I'm doing, but generally who knows, right? Like, at least this is what I'm thinking now. When you first grow a firm, you kinda just, like, hire a paralegal first, and maybe you get another lawyer to work with you. So it's kind of a step-by-step process. I probably wouldn't hire another lawyer right away or go in with another lawyer right away. So that's kind of my vision, like, getting a paralegal first, then figuring out, who else I wanna work with, but again, taking my time to get there.
Yeah, and when you bring on another lawyer, is it usually like I see firms call people partners. Is that
Right.
a partner? So, or can you,
It depends, yeah.
it just depends on how you're structuring the
Yeah,
business.
exactly. So it could be a partnership, we could have both our names on the, shingle, or it could be an associate. It just
Hmm.
depends, on how we wanna do it, which is kind of nice. Like, there's just so many possibilities out there. Another plug for being a lawyer. There's so many different things you can do. There's so many different ways to structure it. You could be in-house, you could be a litigator, so many different neat jobs out there.
So, like, since starting your business, what are some things you think other small business owners, in terms of like law
Mhm.
and understanding your rights, should know, or maybe you, some that you've seen that don't know at all?
For businesses specifically. So I
Yeah.
usually represent the employees, but
Hmm.
which means I definitely see like the things that they don't know. You've got to make sure that you understand the law around sexual harassment and discrimination and retaliation so that you can properly enforce it. Going to these trainings is clearly not enough. It's not working for people. I think we're ahead of where we were, before we had these mandatory trainings in New York State where you have to have sexual harassment training every year. But certainly for someone who's owning or leading a business, that's not enough, and they need more extensive training. They need to really understand the law.
How can people get a better understanding of the law?
Yeah, great question. I mean, they could consult with an attorney. A lot of companies rather have lawyers on retainer. They could say, "Hey, listen, can you just like sit down with me and explain how this relates to the situation kind of preemptively before an issue comes up?" Because I
Mhm.
think oftentimes when the issue comes up, you don't have time to call the attorney, and then people react, and that's where you see these retaliation issues happening, among other things. But I think that's where you see it the most. But just being proactive would be really helpful.
What else do you have happening in 2025 other than business? I know you're going to
Yeah.
continue refining your systems and perfecting things while growing. But what about you personally? Anything exciting happening this year?
Yeah, good question. I think I always have a lot of random things on the horizon. I like to run half marathons, so I'm gonna do some races this year. I think I'm doing the Boilermaker for the first time, so I'm pumped about that.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then I'm starting a group for younger women who want to go to law school. So again, trying to kind of give back and be the mentor for the person that I was, where I was like, oh, like I really want to go, but I'm terrified. And I actually hear that story a lot from young women. So I'm trying to start a little group for them where we talk about like Q&As about law school, talk to someone who recently graduated, talk to someone who's a lawyer now, and just help pump them up to do it and to feel more confident.
That's so fun. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh my
Another
gosh. So you're already starting to legacy build and give back to the next generation.
It's so important to me because again, I feel like I almost didn't go. I was like this close to not go. I mean, I didn't go the first time, and then after the first 3 years of Teach for America, then I almost didn't go again. Like it was just so scary to me, and I'm like, thank God I did. I'm so happy. I love it. In addition to that, I have 2 little kids that I love to hang out with, and my husband. So we have like fun adventures planned this summer, and just good stuff like that.
Anything specific this summer? I've got a couple exciting trips this
Okay,
summer.
so we always go to Rhode Island. That's kind of
Oh,
our favorite
Newport?
place. We go to Narragansett,
Oh,
which is where I got married, but it's really close to Newport.
yep.
So we'll go there. I think we're going to California for a week to visit my sister, things like that. What about you?
So I think we're gonna try to go to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket.
Oh, fun.
We went to Rhode Island this past
Okay.
fall-ish. We missed the summer season. But we're gonna go on a hiking trip out to Maine at Acadia
Oh my
National
God, that's
Park.
so exciting.
But I also want to go up to the Adirondacks because I have not done any
I haven't
hiking
either.
in the Adirondacks, and I want to get more into crunchy things like
Yeah,
that.
I love that. Let me know if you
So
go first because I
I'm
also want
thinking
to
of
go.
doing Whiteface.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but may or may not stay at the lodge and start halfway up. Who knows?
Okay, sounds good. My son is 8 and he has a trip to the Adirondacks this year with his school and for like a couple nights and they're hiking. So I'm like, oh man, I really need to do it. Like he's 8 and he's
Oh
doing
my
it. So
goodness, what are they hiking?
I don't even know. I should, I'm sure we'll find out. We'll get a memo or something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much here. I just went out west to hike in Sedona, and I'm just like, I need to take more advantage of where I
Where we are.
live.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
the issue is ticks,
Yeah.
dirt, sticks, bugs,
Yeah.
bears. No. No,
That's so
thank you.
funny. What
So
about Ithaca? Have you hiked in Ithaca?
I need to do that. I think I want to go to Watkins Glen. I'm actually thinking of planning a meetup for the CNY
You
Women's
should.
Network and doing like a Watkins Glen little
Let's do
hiking
it. That sounds
meetup.
great. Ithaca's great. There's so many hikes there and the food is
Hmm.
great. Obviously,
Oh
that's like
yeah,
all
the
I
food's
really care
great.
about. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, we did a couple hiking meetups, like totally not anticipated in the beginning of 2024, but we did a couple last year and they were super successful. Just
Okay.
and it took like little to no marketing, honestly, to get people to
Yeah,
register. So we're definitely going to do a few of them this summer, which I'm excited about.
perfect.
That'll be fun.
That sounds great. Well, let me know. I'll try to be there.
All right, we'll do. Thank you,
Thanks. Thank you.
Megan.
This was so
Such a
great.
pleasure.
Always.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you left us a review and make sure you're subscribed to the show. Speaking of the show, if you or someone you know wants to be our next guest on Cultivate CNY, you can submit an application. Just click the link in the show notes. And if you are a business owner that's interested in getting in front of our audience, we're looking for sponsors. So if you want to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, you can go ahead and shoot us an email at podcast@cnywomensnetwork.com, and I will take care of you there. That's it for now, and we'll catch you next Monday.